In this episode, I'm going to be covering your podcast artwork, what you should and shouldn't be doing to have the best and most effective artwork for your podcast. Now, in the previous episode, we talked about the title, and as I mentioned in that, there's a difference between YouTube and audio podcast platforms. There's the same difference here in artwork, where the most important thing on the YouTube channel is your thumbnail and your actual show art, or the main kind of profile picture you're using on your YouTube channel isn't really showing up in search. So it's less important for discoverability rather than just if someone goes into your show, so they've already discovered you, what they're going to see. Whereas on a podcast, your artwork is potentially the most important thing because they might see it even before the title. So it may be the first thing that a potential viewer will see or listener will see about your podcast. So in those podcast apps, having good artwork and effective artwork is potentially the most important thing to make sure people are clicking on you. Let's start with the purpose of artwork. Purpose is to convey a message and connect with that potential audience. A lot of people like to use a photo of themselves in the artwork. You may see, like if you're searching and you're seeing celebrities or well-known people, there's often the photo of them, and you don't always want to copy the celebrities, because if you're not a celebrity, if you're not well-known, what's the point? But whereas I said in the title, it's not important to have your name, having a photo of yourself, even if no one's ever seen you before, is really effective because it connects with the audience. If you're looking at the camera, even if you're smiling, the audience is then seeing you and they have a connection already with someone, and it's a trust as well. They look straight into your eyes, and you're the person that's going to be talking to them and telling them what they want to hear. So you don't have to have a picture of yourself, but if you're going to have a picture of yourself, make sure it's a good one, not a really kind of grainy random image that you've picked from a random photo in your catalog. A proper professional image that looks good, because you want it to be quite big on on that artwork. But yeah, I would recommend using it, but you don't have to. You don't have to have a picture of yourself. Now let's talk about how to create it. Now firstly, Canva. Canva's a great tool. I use it a lot. I do love it. If you're going to use Canva for your artwork, just be really careful with templates, because they will suggest templates to you and is a good guide of what it needs to look like. So for podcast platforms such as Apple and Spotify, your artwork needs to be 3,000 by 3,000 pixels. So it's a square. And unlike YouTube, but on podcast platforms, it needs to be a square. But you'll find that Canva offers up a lot of templates if you just typed in podcast, what you can just change and look like. But the danger with this, it will just look very samey, very generic. It will look like a lot of other podcasts when people scroll. And the aim of this is to stand out, is to get people to click on that image. And if it looks like everything else, why would someone click on it? So if you're going to use a template, make sure you make a lot of changes and make it much more specific to you and your podcast and the message you're trying to portray, rather than just clicking and saying and changing the text and going, I'll use that. Canva, great. Just be careful. Similar thing with Fiverr and Upwork. If you're using something like this and you're looking to pay someone 10, 20 quid to make you a podcast cover, then the people you're paying such a nominal fee to, they don't know about listener psychology. They're just whacking something up for you, and they're probably going to make the same one that they've made for someone else, and it's probably going to be a Canva template that they've used and they've just changed for each client they've got in. So again, be very careful using that, because you do want your artwork to stand out. You don't want it to look like everyone else's Fiverr hire that they've paid a tenner for. Now, just because something looks pretty doesn't mean it's effective, because you may get a design, or someone's to design for you, go, oh, look how pretty it is. It's really nice. I like it. It's such good artwork. But it doesn't matter if no one's going to click on it. And if you've got something really busy that's got loads going on, someone will probably just scroll straight past it. It needs to be clear. Maximum 2 colors, maybe 1, and really clear text. And don't use a fancy font. Use a really clear font that makes your text stand out, and you want to make it nice and big on that image, because most people are looking at this on their phone. So you think how big the square is on your phone, it's going to be pretty small. So you need the text to fill up most of that square to enable people to be able to read it. Just think about if someone's not got great eyesight and they're scrolling through. If you've got tiny text, it doesn't matter what it says, no one's going to be able to read it. So not too busy, nice and clear and simple, 2 colors max, simple background. But scroll through your category and look at other podcasts, imagery, and see and think, how am I going to stand out? How can I put an image on there that will kind of appear above everyone else's? And that may be the color. Like if you've got a business podcast and you scroll through and go, okay, all of them are kind of dark colors, but you may want to put a bright color, put a yellow there, put something warm. But also think about the image you're trying to portray and what the problem your podcast is solving, and how the colors and imagery complement that. So say you're talking, you've got a news channel, and you click on, and all the news channels are probably like white or red or whatever, without searching, I'm guessing. But then pick something that will really stand out. Maybe pick a pink or a yellow, and that'll really stand out in the crowd, and give you more potential of being clicked on. Think of it like a billboard, that if you're driving along and you see it, you're only seeing it for a split second, and it's not actually got your full attention because you're driving. And what they do with a billboard is make it big, bold, clear, eye-catching with that color, big, bold text. And you need to get that message across straight away. If you tuned in for the last episode, you'd have got your title nailed, and you want your title in that artwork, because like I said, this may be the first and only thing that someone sees about you. So you've nailed that title, and you've made it really concise. Put that in your artwork. Just having that one color, a photo of you if you want it. You could, if you don't want a photo of you, you may have a logo or an image that sums up your podcast along with that nice bold text. And that's pretty much it. Just keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Just make it bold, make it simple. Now, the other thing is, you can now do episode artwork and even chapter artwork. Now, having a different image for each episode is great, because you can, when someone's searching on a lot of these platforms now, you can search for episodes rather than shows. So you do want to make sure your image is on that. It won't hurt you too much if you've got a really good show artwork to have that for each episode, but you can create a new one for each episode. What I would recommend doing is keeping it in line with your show artwork, and then just potentially just changing the text to match the episode title, so that there's a consistency across your show, so that if it's something completely different, completely different image, people might not recognize it when they see it again as a different episode, or when they see the whole show. So keep that consistency. And chapter artwork, I'd say, is more kind of, is not that important. It's for discoverability. It's a nice to have. The main thing, like, people will see it whilst they're listening to a podcast. And if you got your phone in your pocket while you're listening, you're not going to see it. So unless you're listening to a podcast with it on your desktop, or maybe in the car, and for each chapter it pops up. A good use I thought about for this is, if you don't want to go as far as having a video podcast, but you have got some things you want your audience to see, then you can put that imagery in the chapter artwork, because it doesn't really matter if it hasn't got your title in that chapter, because they're already listening. It's not for discoverability. It's to bring an extra feature to your listener once they're already in. So if you're talking about something visual, you could pop that image in your chapter artwork to help the listener see. So if you found this useful, please subscribe, and I'll be back to help you along with your podcast next time. So get that podcast artwork nailed and you'll be getting clicks in no time.